Good afternoon and welcome to Nigeria Now, where we discuss all the issues and possibly touch some sectors in Nigeria and looking at what the matters are rising currently in the country. We have quite a number of issues we would love to look into this afternoon, so we will employ you to please join us via Facebook and YouTube and then drop your comment, your views on any of the matter that is actually of interest to you and how you would like to contribute. I am Stella Elisha and I'll be doing the program with Rachel Tazi. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Celia.
All right, we have quite a number, I think about 2, 3 or how many matters we love to look into this afternoon. And we love to start with the issue of illegal miners in a bid to actually curtail and actually to control the issue of illegal mining. We are saying that over 2,200 new mining marshals have been inaugurated, or actually you can actually say they have been employed into the system, where we're seeing that the federal government is actually giving them the assignment to go after illegal miners. And we know this is one of the things that the minister talking about Dede Alake has been looking into. And I'm really happy Richard looking at it. I mean, I love their attire, their outfit. They really look out to work and all of that. And I think it's really something, I think from last year, ever since this new administration got into power, this is something they have been pushing, because we have really lost a number of our natural resources to illegal miners. We will not easily forget what happened in Oyo State, where we saw that some illegal miners, in the name of illegal miners, a number of people lost their lives. Some are still in the hospital, others lost their property because of some explosive that were in the house. And that we can touch various parts of the country. Zamfara, where we had the issue of gold, that mostly we're even hearing that not even are we having just Nigerians getting involved in illegal mining, but even people outside the country coming in to take away our natural resources. And then let's not even talk about the hazard that all of these things is causing. That's just one and another part. Or people that are actually losing their life because of illegal mining, they don't have all that it takes. Now we're seeing that the federal government have actually, gotten this new mining marshals and are actually giving them the assignment, taxing them with the responsibility to unmark the people that are involved in this. And we remember when the minister made the comment concerning the fact that that is not in the jurisdiction of the state governors. But I remember you and I saying that he definitely needs the support of the state governors and even local government chairmen, because he doesn't know where all of these places are. So he definitely needs to work with them. And then looking at these marshals, I hope that they will do their responsibility. They will not be bought by anybody, but rather will see that they will do all that is needed. I think there was even a time where the minister made mention that for those who like to go into mining, have to bring their license, be up to date before they can get into that. So I think this is another way for us to have everything under control, so that we don't see things getting out of hand or escalating eventually.
On different levels, this is absolutely good news whatsoever. Is just the way forward. Just as you mentioned concerning making sure that the state government does not intervene in the solid minerals affairs in the country. I believe that this is one of the major reasons why we have these mining marshals, because now they will be deployed to all the 36 states, and we're looking at least 60 officers, looking at the number or information out there of how many officers will be deployed to various states. And let's not forget that they are coming out from the NSCDC. So it means that now they won't be they won't be foreigners in states. And with the aid of the NSCDC officials at the state level, they will be able to find their way across various places that are prone to illegal mining or are currently going under illegal mining activities. So it is kudos, job well done. It's only the beginning. And I am looking forward that come next year, 2025, the year report when it comes to solid minerals will be that the revenue have been improved, that the government have been able to take back illegal mining, and this is a resources that now we will be able to harness them in their large quantity. We won't lose them to illegal buyers and all of that, and eventually we will start seeing production of certain things that we import in this country. For me, That is the most important part of it, is that when we are able to secure solid minerals in this country and mining, we will be able to go into industrialization. Because the minerals we are talking about and resources, we're talking about wood, we're talking about our timber, we're talking about everything that is used to process another finished material. And then this can give birth to industrialization. Just like how we are seeing a wake up with our refineries and all of that, because we have the crude oil, it's expected we refine it. Now we will start seeing that eventually, very soon, because we now have the raw materials, we will start having our industries in full. We can have some pharmaceutical drugs that the minerals like zinc and all of that, and cosmetics, precisely cosmetics, we can start having some of them here. And we can talk about our steel rolling mill. Like, it's just
We
the
just
top.
can't talk about that without mentioning
Exactly, is at the top of the chart, because if we can have our hands on that, Tele, it means we will be having cars made in Nigeria. It means we will not be importing roofing sheets. It means virtually everything that has to do with steel, metal, and iron, we can start having some of it in this country. And then it grows eventually, and then we can do away with the importation of certain things. So honestly, I'm looking forward to dedicated work and service, truly curtailing this menace of illegal mining, and that eventually we will have a government who is 80% in charge of the solid minerals of the country, and then 20% for private licensed individual that will want to go into mining in the country.
Well, I think this is just the starting point for me, now that we have these marshals that have been dispersed to go about doing their responsibility. And I'm hoping, just like we say, we're hoping to see that all of these industries will start working, will start bubbling. I mean, this will even be job opportunity for a number of Nigerians that are out there. So look forward to seeing more productive, even we are rooting for this money marshals, and we hope that they will do all that is needed to make sure that everything will work out well. Now we're seeing that the issue of police in the country have been a thing of back and forth. We know that as a country we practice centralized police. So that is to say that most of the police are answerable from the federal government. So basically they do not, the state governors have little or no control over most of the police we have, because from the center they have been centralized, and then they have been sent to various parts of the country. And now we see, in the bit of time, we've seen that we're having increasing terrorism, theft, corruption, and there was a need for us to, I say us, talking about the government, there was a need for Nigeria to actually look into something more proactive. So you can tend to say that it's more like trying to say, let us review what we have been practicing over the years. And we saw that February 15 was when there was a need to see, you know what, let us push for this thing called state policing, because we really need them. With the escalating issues that are happening in the country, we're saying that there is a need for governors to put their heads together with the federal government and see how can we come up with something that's peculiar to our state. I mean, we saw that of Zamfara. We've seen that there are multi-coups in the southwest that have been on for quite a number of years right now. And then we're seeing that presently, according to the federal government, during their last NEC meeting that held yesterday, only 16 states have been able to submit their presentation, to present it, and then bring their report. Although the states that actually submitted were not mentioned, and those that are yet to submit are not mentioned. But that is to say, we are waiting for 20 more states to do that, because this is not something, again, that we're talking about back and forth. It has passed the first, second reading, so the bill is already there. So it's left for states right now to do what is needed. We saw where you and I think we talked about this a couple of times, and we made mention of the fact that it's one thing to push for it, it's another thing for it to be sustained, because we're looking at the sustainability of this case policing, so that at the end of the day they will not cause menace in the end of the day. So there is a need for every state to do something, because we're going to talk about the issue of the kidnapping in Kaduna, or that in Sokoto, or that in Katsina. We're going to even go down to the students that we lost one time in Ekiti State until they were being brought back. So you can just make mention of every zone in Nigeria. There's no zone that has been left out when you come to talk about the issue of security. And now we're seeing that the federal government is still waiting. And I think there should be a time frame, Rachel, for this remaining 20 states. Because we cannot have the state pulling the country backwards, something that it took the lawmakers so much time and money to make sure that this bill have come to stand. And then we're having about 20 states yet to do the needful. You know, I couldn't help but cast my mind back to the local government autonomy that took the Senate so much of time, and then we're still having states that are yet to enact this law in their own state. But then let's take a look at this state policing thing. What do you think about states that are yet to implement, or yet to rather present their report concerning the state policing? Because time is not on anybody's side, Richard. With the increase of corruption and then terrorism, there is a need for governors to do the needful.
Yeah, I mean, Sele, when it comes to this, the number of the states that have forwarded their report and letters and all of that, I know Vice President Shetima said that is discouraging, but to me, 16 is not discouraging. If we had 70 states, for example, and then 16 have already gone a step ahead, it would be a very poor number. But we're looking at 36. I believe that what I need to take this to, what we need rather to take this to the next level is just 4 more states, so that it would put it above the 50% of state. This is too good to pass on it, like for fit in, because we have 20 states not sending in their reports and all of that. I don't think so. I honestly feel that there must be some skepticism coming from these governors concerning it. It is something they will be able to do. Just as you said, we talk about the local government autonomy. Some are still struggling with it, although I want to believe that that is also laxity from our lawmakers and whoever is supposed to enforce and make sure that states adhere to this law. And then secondly, we can say that also about minimum wage, you know, in as much as it will eventually become a law that, okay, minimum wage is no longer 30,000, for example, we will still have states that will struggle with it. Does that mean it should not be changed from 30,000, for example?
Of course, it
has to be changed. So I want to believe it's the same thing when it comes to state policing. It is something very important and good, and it should be, I believe, just for the numbers sake and percentage sake, we just need 4 more states to join to that will really give that much grounds and move to the next level, so that we will have 20, and then 16 will definitely, of course, they will have to bring this letter. And even at that, even if we have all the 36 we know that it will not be all that we implement immediately. We know that this is strictly on a state level, and we've talked about countless times how we want to see states cut their code according to their sizes. It's very important. So for some states, you might not even kickstart immediately. Some states might take years later, but it's important for me, I believe, to just have it as a law there, so that when certain states grow to the level where now they can afford it and put it in place, there's a blueprint, there are templates, there are steps, there are procedures already in line out there for them. So I'm just hoping that this will be how this takes place, that regardless of the number, I believe that 16 is a good number as it is now. It's not up to 50%, but it's not far from 50%. And then 4 more joining, it will be over 50%. And I mean, it's good enough. And I know that other states will hop on it eventually. And it's a good thing that we can't just let it pass by. We've been talking about it. Insecurity is, I mean, no. Imagine if Niger Delta come and had state police in their communities and all of that. I believe that what went on down there wouldn't
have been the way it is
exactly.
Very
so state policing is important, very, very important. So regardless of the number, I don't think 16 is discouraging. It's a good number. We just need few more states, and then we forge ahead.
Possibly maybe the vice president was looking at it from the point of looking at the escalating issues that are happening presently. It tends to look as if, the entire 36 state governors, including the FCT, agreed that they need state police. So it will look more like, so why the setback coming from these governors? Why are you taking your time? But just like you try to bring a reason, possibly they are trying to look at, can we sustain this and all of that. But for the governors to have agreed that they all need it, I think it's high time everybody submit their report, because we cannot just make the effort of this committee that was being set from February. This is already over a month since they started working, and then they meet the remaining states to submit their report so that they can finalize everything that is needed. Possibly if there's something the federal government needs to add up, or maybe talking about how much they will be supporting the states in their own capacity, because of course I know that the government will not just leave this solidly only on the state. There will be something that the federal government can support, because we know the kind of system of government we practice in the country. So we are hoping, just like you said, maybe when we have 4 more states joining, then we'll be able to see that more is done. Even looking at the issue that happened in Delta State, just imagine if we had state policing. It's just a matter of, and then we'll have the people who are behind that and all of that. And then looking at even the hunters, the bushes, and all of that, because we know that they operate there, we'll be able to see more success. So we'll be hoping and trusting that the rest of the governors, even though we don't have their name, but please, it is important that they try to do that, because this should be a law that will be in our constitution, whether you like it or not. These have come to stay. Now let's try to round it up with the issue of the labor. You and I talk a little about it, on the fact that, the NLC have been focusing on things that are not really their concern. We saw the back and forth in the morning from our papers, where the fact that Abu Ray is even saying the fact that, we are not under labor, so you don't have the right to come and tell us what to do, what not to do, who should be suspended, who should resign, and all of that. And then here we're seeing that labor have come out to say, by April, this minimum wage just have to kickstart. And also we're seeing governors at the other side are saying, please, in as much as you want this thing to kickstart, please try and be fair with the amount, because we know that there are states that might not be able to afford certain amount of money. We're still struggling with the 30,000 minimum wage, where there are still states where the local government are still collecting 18,000 minimum wage. So you know what that means. And just like you chip in earlier, the fact that we have certain laws and then certain states are not abiding by it. This is the minimum wage, and we're still having back and forth whether certain governors can pay it or not. But then here we are, April. Richard, is just a week plus, and then we're done with March, and then we're already in April. So right now the concern will be what is on ground, because I believe that they will be meeting. By I think by March 7th to 8th, they should be meeting. So that should be like next week. So everything should be finalized by then. How much should be the pay should be finalized by then. But we're just being skeptical. We saw the back and forth, 1 million, no, 500,000, no, and all of that. So right now, Nigerians are just speculating, okay, so how much is the minimum wage going to be? Are we sure by April this thing is going to start? Looking at the back and forth of certain laws, we're having the student loan, no on suspension, no, we're starting, and all of that. But I believe this is what is going through the minds of a number of Nigerians, especially civil servants as it is presently.
I'm not going to go over the one-time prediction we did of how much most likely the minimum wage is going to be set, because we've started talking about minimum wage since 2023 and how much we think it's most likely going to be. We're just going to leave it for now. And I think if we're to place a bet, we will end up winning lots of money, say, we know this is what will eventually be the minimum wage. I keep saying that I'm commending Labour for their effort, looking at the current economic situation and the exchange rate of our nairas against the dollar. Even ₦1 million monthly salary is not enough for a minimum wage, because when you're trading with a currency, we've said this over and over, is what is obtainable as a minimum wage in that country's currency or in that currency. That is what should be obtainable, equivalent to naira. That is what it should be, because you can't go to the market and everything you touch, they will tell you dollar. has increased, and then we are not being paid in the equivalent of what dollar can afford, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And that is to tell you how our government have not been trying for us economically. They can argue it, but no, they haven't. But that being said, we know that the Nigerian government will not pay anybody 1 million minimum wage. We know that for sure. Is it possible? Absolutely, but it will mean more debt. Let's be honest. I know there's money in this country, but people need to understand how money flow. The fact that there's money doesn't mean that that money is there, like sitting down to be shared. It's indifferent. It's called assets. Okay? We have reserves. We have external. We have internal reserves, foreign exchange, internal reserves. We have these left, right, center. Some have to be liquidated before we'll be able to have. So, yes. And we can't also neglect the fact that there are individuals with money also that are more than the government precisely,
True,
and all of that. So yes, we might sit down and say Nigeria have the, but it doesn't mean it's cash that could just be gone, that will just be used to give you 1 million as minimum wage. And even 500,000, Stella, I don't think our minimum wage should be 500,000 naira in Nigeria. I already know in my heart eventually what we've said it here months back. And when they finalize, I'm excited.
We'll come back.
When they finalize,
We'll come back.
the
But we
minimum
told
wage,
you so.
we are going to revisit it and talk about what we actually said the Nigerian government will stand at when it comes to minimum wage. Because in the end, you have to be logical about certain things. It has been there. There's a pattern. You see it. And it's easy for you to say, okay, this is where we are at the moment, and it's eventually where we're going to be for quite a while. Will the minimum wage increase? Yes, definitely. Will it be as significant as we think it might be? We have to wait and see.
Maybe.
However, I believe that a conclusion should be drawn, and April should be implemented for the new minimum wage. I want to believe that our CGN and his counterpart are going to see their new minimum wage this April for sure. And every other Nigerian too should be able to see the new minimum wage implemented. It is doable. It is. It is. Let's not look like it's not possible. It is. If the government is serious about the welfare of its citizens, this is something doable that by 27 or 28, we will have this committee come to a conclusion, a reasonable conclusion, and then the salaries and wages for April will come implementing the wage. But I can't just wait to see what will be the conclusion and eventually where they will stand and say, okay, this is the new minimum wage.
So I think our viewers, as eager as we are, they're also eager. So
They
by
are.
Wednesday, Thursday, we should know what it is. But just like you said, we'll just be trying to face the reality of things and then hope to see, however, how much they will say. But I just hope that our pensioners will also be carried along. I think this is the
Important.
concern. Over the years, we've seen that somebody who maybe retired at maybe far back 10 years, 15 years, the money is not really significant per se. So we hope that anyway, we're taking one step at a time. Let's start with the civil servants, and then
Yeah.
eventually maybe we'll see that other people also be taking. And I think it's important that also private sector should start
We
warming
are
up.
looking forward to private sector
Also
doing
warming up. So
yeah.
as the government is trying to say, okay, this will be the next minimum wage, whether 50,000, 100,000, however the money will be, turn out to be. We hope that also private individuals will take, because that was the main aim. That was why we had TUC
yes.
alongside
And
Rachel.
I think, Sele, there's a problem there because constitution is for everybody. The problem I think we have in Nigeria is that there are no union for private organizations. You need to know the exploit that goes under private organizations. On one end, you might be lucky to find a well-paying private job, a private institution, but you'll be exploited with your time and work. You will work more than. But majority of people are on the exploited side, that they're being underpaid. And first of all, it's because there's no union protecting it, because if the government says that the law in Nigeria minimum wage is 100,000, you are in Nigeria and you are under the law. whether you are private or personal organization, you are supposed to implement minimum wage. If you cannot, pack up and leave and allow those who can, because we don't want exploitation. Now, I believe that we need organizations that are responsible for also individuals that are employed on the private sectors.
Well, Rachel, we look forward to seeing what the look will look like. Just like we've actually pricked the conscience of the private, organizations right now. That government is doing this. We are hoping you will also do so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rachel,
You're
for doing
welcome,
this with
Sally.
me. Thank you also to our viewers. Thank you to our supporters for keeping this moment with us. We look forward to meeting you again next week. To have a blessed weekend ahead.